I started by sketching a layout on scrap paper to determine what stitches and what colors I wanted to use in this Dreidel embroidery sampler. Draw and cut out a Dreidel template on scrap paper, the same size that you want your sampler to be. You can make it any size that you want. Mine is about 5 inches tall. Trace the dreidel onto your fabric using a disappearing ink embroidery marker. This marker will eventually fade away, you don't need to wash it or anything. Draw 8 lines with the disappearing ink marker to mark where your 8 rows of stitches will go. This sampler is going to use 9 stitches, but the 9th will be the border of the dreidel. Insert your fabric into the embroidery hoop. You want to gently pull the fabric taut as you tighten the screw at the top, but you don't want to stretch the fabric. The first row is the running stitch in red. For each stitch shown in this sampler, I have individual jump ropes that go through the full process. Be sure to watch those if you want more detail on each individual stitch. Next is the fern stitch in orange. Each individual fern stitch kind of looks like a chicken foot, but when you put them all together, this is a great stitch for flower stems and borders. Stem stitch a row in yellow. Stem stitch is another great one for flower stems, and it also works great for lettering and details like spirals. Next, stitch a row of chain stitch in green. The chain stitch adds some nice texture, and it looks like exactly what it sounds like. It makes a chain. This row is the cross stitch in light blue. Make short diagonal stitches in one direction down the entire row, and then come back to cross each stitch. Next is the split stitch in dark blue. You split the previous stitch in half each time you come up from the back of the fabric. Blanket stitch in dark purple. I added 2 additional guidelines with the embroidery marker first to determine the width of my stitch. Again, this marker will disappear on its own after you're done embroidering. The last row is my favorite stitch, the French knot. This stitch is great for adding detail or combining a bunch of French knots together to create a bubbly texture. Remove your fabric from the embroidery hoop and trim around the dreidel shape. Pin your dreidel to a piece of felt. Include a loop of ribbon at the top so that you can hang your sampler after. Then trim the felt about 1/4 inch larger than your dreidel. Use the blanket stitch around the border to attach your dreidel to your felt. Stitch all the way around and then leave about a 1-inch opening. As you're stitching around, make sure to actually attach the ribbon to the fabric and felt. Remove the pins from your project. Now it's time to fill with stuffing. You can use cotton balls in a pinch like I did here. Use a pencil to push the stuffing into the corners of your project. Continue the blanket stitch to close up the rest of that hole. Once you get to the beginning again, you can finish off by weaving the floss through the last few stitches in the back, tie a knot, and then cut off extra. And here's your finished embroidery sampler. The marker will disappear in the next day or two, and it'll be ready to hang for Hanukkah.